Hey everyone, I am Yvette Lloyd, host of Life Her podcast. Eden Joy is an amazing guest that we have on here tonight, and she is a leadership expert and a creator of the Virtual GM Matrix, a groundbreaking system that helps small business owners build empowering teams, streamline operations, and reclaim their time. With over 20 years of management experience, is basically transforming the way businesses operate by replacing traditional management with a collaborative, accountability, and driven model. You guys, I welcome you, Eden Lovejoy. Hi, Eden. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you. I really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to share with you, um,
Yes.
Katasha, what we've got going on over here, and yeah, looking forward to our conversation.
Yes. So, first and foremost, what inspired you to develop the virtual GM matrix and how does it differ from traditional management approaches?
Oh, that's a lot of a question. So I'll take it in two parts. Um, since I was a young woman, I knew that I wanted to work with small business leadership. Like I've been drawn to that model of business operations, and I've been in management for many years. But I always knew, even before I went into college, I knew that I wanted to not just work with one company at a time, but to be able to impact and serve a broad base of businesses. So, through my career, I always had that in the back of my mind. And as a young professional, of course, I worked in hands-on in leadership positions, but I always had that entrepreneurial drive, right? What can I do on my own? What can I do different? And how can I reach more people? So I stepped out on my own in 2010 and really thought about, so I'm a general manager by craft and inclination. I have that skill set, and it was always a question like, what do I do in a company that makes a difference with the team? And so from there, over the last 14 years, I've been sort of proving the method and proving the model about the pieces that need to be in place in order to replace me as a manager. So what's different about the virtual GM is, up until now, owners have always had two ideas. One idea is I have to run it myself and manage everything myself, and I have to do that until I get to a place where I'm big enough to hire somebody that's like a general manager to run the team for me. So
Mm.
the virtual GM is an option number three, that with the existing team, we build in the specific functions of general management through the team so that we can have, it's a more diversified leadership model, but it's ideal for companies that are, small to mid-size, that have a need for that leadership skill set, but don't have the need or a budget for a full-time general manager.
Wow. So, can you explain how business owners can go from managing their own business and to working with it?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I appreciate that you said with it, because since the 80s we've been telling business owners, you should don't work in your business, work on your business. And
Right.
I always like to say, people don't want to be worked on, they want to be worked with. So
Yeah.
it is absolutely a mindset shift. And um, the practice is to first to decide that you want to do this, that you want to work with the team that's there and build those skill sets in order, the self-reinforcing skills and tools to be able to trust the team to run the company when you're out or away or on vacation, in the same way that you would. And so the virtual GM matrix has 10 specific steps that we take to implement this new strategy. And they start at the front end with, the standard steps, but so important and often overlooked, of building intentional culture through mission and values and setting a vision. So like the overview is those pieces, and then organization and really articulating accountability for people, teaching people, showing people, and anticipating that people will, in their positions, be accountable for results rather than just focus on tasks. And then there's ways that we work with the team to keep them looking forward, to be looking ahead always to growth and improvement, while building a dashboard. Anyways, I'm going to go through all 10 steps in a short form, but there's a system.
I understand. So, could you please tell me, like, what are the core components of the virtual geomatrix and how do they promote team ownership and accountability?
So the foundational piece is the cultural framework of mission, vision, and values. And that's really those pieces. A mission is why we're here. The values are our agreement on how we're going to behave while we're working together. And the
Mhm.
vision is where we're going. And those three, when clearly articulated, communicated, and brought to life, do a couple of things. One is we start working with the team from a perspective of reaching their heart and their minds and their emotions rather than just their tasks and skill set, right? So we get buy-in. Two is we begin to hire to that cultural framework. And so people who are working for us are inspired by our mission and our values, and they want to, when they have that inspiration, they're going to lean in more fully. And three, there gets to be that cultural identification, right? So when the team starts to build its own language and hold each other accountable to, hey, that value or our mission, then it's reinforcing. It builds energy on itself because people get excited. We're doing something together, and that's fun, and that brings good energy to, yeah. So that's the foundational piece.
Wow, that is amazing. So, what does working with your business really look like in a practice, and why is it more sustainable than long term?
So what happens when we get the engagement, and then we establish true accountability and get everybody in the right space on the team. So I guess I haven't talked about that yet, but I have clients tell me, "Oh, we're too small to have an org chart." That's not necessary. But what ends up happening in small business quite often is everybody is going to the owner for answers, and so
Yeah.
even when they've brought on, added team members, it's like their workload never gets less, it's always more, right? So
Yes.
yeah, you're identifying with that. Yeah. So we have more and more people asking us questions. So what happens when I do an org chart first for a company is we line out like all of the roles and functions that are happening in the business, and then identify that the owner is working in like probably 3 or 4 layers in the company. So they might be doing, you know, people are going to ask them a question not because they're the owner, but because they're fulfilling the function of the office coordinator,
Exactly.
or because they're fulfilling the function of the marketing person, or because they're fulfilling 4 or 5 different functions. So when we start to identify that, then we can break that up differently and say, oh, let's have somebody else take this on. And really then what happens is lines of communication are improved. People go to the right person for the right information rather than everybody going to one person because they think that's what they have to do. So
Mm,
what happens is the team starts talking to each other and really owning their own space, right? We get everybody inside their own hula hoop doing their right role, then they're handing off to other people. What happens a lot of time in businesses as they grow is, well, I like to say, if everybody's responsible for everything, then nobody's accountable for anything.
yes.
Yeah, so we have to divvy it up. We're going to divvy up the accountability within the team, and then we can really hold people accountable, and then they get to take pride in ownership as well, right? Like, I know I did a good job. This is my accountability. And again, they start to that starts to build on itself as people take pride in their work and hold each other accountable to results. So what it starts to look like for the owner is less people coming to them for answers to questions that they really could truly get elsewhere, and people owning their space more thoroughly so that you can have some relief. My goal with companies is that the team has the information, authority, and accountability, sense of accountability to make the same decisions for the customer or the service or the company that I would make if I was in the room, even if I'm across the country. So that's what we're building towards.
So, what steps should a business take to build a strong leadership structure without overcomplicating things?
Hmm. Well, coming back to making sure everyone knows what they're responsible for leading.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's really important. So one of the fears is that if we do this, we're going to end up like with layers of hierarchy of supervision, and people get afraid, right? They get afraid
Yeah.
I'm going to lose access to the owner, or it's going to get bureaucratic, or it's going to get complicated. Um, the lines of communication open up rather than be stifled when we have clarity on who's doing what. I think the most important thing is to let people know, that we have confidence in them. Positive reinforcement and delegation of appropriate authorities is the best way to build leadership without things getting too complicated. So I've talked a bit about, clearly defining the results people are accountable for. On every role definition also should be listed the authority that a person's responsible for. So do they have the authority to achieve the result? And when people begin to have like the decision-making authority, um, then they might not know how to practice it right away.
Yeah.
So as an owner, to build that leadership skill, we change the language basically. People will come to us to ask a question that they might have always asked, and we get to say, it's within your authority to make that decision. So what's your recommendation? And we begin to build that sense of confidence on the leadership team that they can make decisions and move forward. I was talking with an owner just this past week, and he said, it seems like nobody's willing to take any action on growth in this area unless I tell them specifically to do it. And I thought about that for a minute, and I said, well, up until now, in the 7 years of your business, you've never let anybody take action on that without saying, I want to be involved, or hold on, I don't want to do that yet, or, wanting to own it yourself. So you've trained them 100%, trained them to not take action in this area. So if you want to now have people move into leadership, you have to let them know, A, that they can, B, that you support them, and C, maybe what their budget is so that they don't just, completely jump off a high dive. But so confidence and letting people know they have authority to do things, and then supporting them as they test that out would be my answer.
It's crazy because sometimes it sounds so scary, just being a leader for so long and knowing you have to let go. And it's like another fear that you have to unlock for you to be able to transition in that way. Like, can you give, um, you know, like just more advice for leaders who do struggle with let go and actually give them their team autonomy?
Yeah. Yeah, a few things. I mean, the first is if you have a team, you're already, halfway there, right? Um,
Yes.
I mean, before I hired my first employee, I had a mentor say to me, if you can stand to have the work done to 80% of how you would do it, then you can have employees or a team. And if you can't, like if you have to have everything done exactly the way that you would do it to 100% of the time, then you just should stay a solopreneur, because you have to create space for other people to bring in their contribution. Like we can have the result quality need not be compromised, but it has to be, it might not necessarily look exactly the way it would look like if I did it, right? So that's one, is to remember that. Um, Two is I mean, I think it's sort of a little bit of a carrot and a stick, right? Like if we want to grow, we have to be able to let go. Otherwise, we're going to limit the size of our business to what we can directly supervise, manage, or do. And I don't think that most people go into business to be working all the time. I mean, that's that classic joke, right? Of entrepreneurs, the only people who would quit a 40-hour-a-week job so they can work 80. I mean, this kind of the thing, but
It
it's not
is.
really that funny when you've been working 80 hours a week for a couple of years or however long.
Yeah.
So, in order to achieve your dreams, it's a necessity, right? I have to be willing to let go. So, how do I lessen that fear? On the practical side, it's um, I tell people all the time, delegation is not abandonment.
Mm.
So you build in a feedback loops, and there's a couple of different ways to do that. First, I don't have people on my team that I don't trust, because if I don't trust you, then you shouldn't be on my team. And I trust that people are here to do a good job. They care about what I'm up to. I'm building from a foundation of trust, or I need to find different people, right? Because I want to have people on my team that I trust. Um, Secondly, um, oh gosh, I had a thought. Where was I headed? So then when I delegate something, I want to let them know the timeline that I need it in, because one of the great fears we have is it won't get done in the timeline that we anticipate. But a lot of times leaders will give somebody a task and say, as soon as possible. And as soon as possible is a setup for failure, because then you're not setting clear priorities, right? If I say I need this by Tuesday next week, then people know what the priority is for that. If I say as soon as possible and there's 4 other projects, it might not happen for 3 weeks, and then I'm going to be upset. So owning the communication to delegate clearly is a way to assist with that fear, because then we have check-in points. Are we on track to meet the timeline? So setting timelines is a piece. And then the third piece is building a dashboard of feedback, right? I need to be able to know what's going on in my company with from a distance, right? I need to be able to well, when I'm in an office building and I have team members, I personally like to sit by the front desk. I can hear what's going on the phone. I can hear the tone of the conversation. I can hear if somebody's upset. So I want to replace that. If I'm going to be farther away, I need to replace that with, what streams am I following? What dashboard am I reading? What key performance indicators am I observing? Like building in the feedback loop so that you're not just abandoning it and it's like a black hole and you just have to hope like hell it's going to work out. We want to actually delegate it in a way that we know what the results are and have a way to track that. That was a really long-winded answer. I hope I answered your question.
No, you're good. You answered it very well. I think it's amazing of what you're doing. Honestly, it's something I probably wouldn't even think of.
Oh,
How did you even find like that you knew this was something you wanted to do to even help business owner to execute and let go and everything else?
I think it ties to my childhood story a little bit. I'm the oldest of four, and my mom, when I was growing up, my mother was a seeker. She was looking for the answer in San Francisco in the 70s. And so what that meant for us was that things were changing all the time. A lot of different worldviews, a lot of different schools, a lot of different houses, a lot of change. And as I reflect on it today, it looks a lot like a business owner who's like, let's try this, let's try that, let's try these, right? And the team is like, okay, 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 okay. We're like all the new ideas, right? It's all
Right.
these new ideas, and you get exhausted by it. So years ago, I realized that a part of what I really love to do is to help the owner achieve their dream, but and also support the team in having like a sense of clarity and structure. So I think I come by it honestly from my childhood experience. But when I was, before I went to college, I was impetuous youth. I moved from the San Francisco Bay Area to a little town of 3,000 people called Homer, Alaska. And I was just trying my hand at different jobs, and I was seeing business owners, like I was working for small business, and I just love the diversity of their lifestyle. That they,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's no 2 days alike. One day you're dealing with professionals, accountants, attorneys, whatever. The next day you're opening the mail and doing the dishes. I mean, you're just it's never the same. And I liked that diversity. I just knew I never wanted to be in corporate, something like I couldn't imagine myself doing anything that felt the same every day. So I just fell in love with the market. And I think I have native organizational skills, and I like to kind of project manage things. So it just all fell together.
Wow. So can you share a success story of a client who benefit from virtual GM?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the story I share most often is a client. She just sent me a bouquet of flowers last week for celebrate 10 years we've been working together, which was super sweet. I'm like, oh, I should be sending you flowers. She said,
Oh,
no, you changed my life. But when I met her, she was had been in business about I don't know 5 or 6 years, and she had put $600,000 into the business. She had a team of employees, but she was working, and she had never taken any salary home. Right, and her husband had been financing this effort for years, and she was working every day in the shop side by side other people, doing the hands-on work of the business. And we started implementing the virtual GM system, and within 2 or 3 years, she had was taking home a nice paycheck. She had repaid back all of that money that she had put in, and went to the Galapagos for a month with her husband, and was completely out of pocket. And the company ran just beautifully with while she was absent. So I mean, it happened really fast, and just mostly it was a changed mindset, right? She needed to really look at, oh, this isn't working. I want to do something different, and then implemented these pieces, and the team grew up about her. So she's now in a position of planning to retire about 7 years earlier than she thought that she would, and it's super exciting.
oh wow. Go you. That is amazing. So what are some of the common pitfalls of traditional management models, and how can the virtual GM matrix help business owners avoid them?
I think it depends on the generation you grew up in, right? Or the books that you've read. So, like the classic Bible for small business management since the 80s has been the E-Myth, or the E-Myth Revisited, and that model was really effective for the baby boomer generation, because it was a model of figure out your policies and procedures, hire to the lowest common denominator of who will do that, and then tell them to go where pointed. And baby boomers were kind of happy to do that. I'll just show up and do the job that you describe, and that'll be fine, right? There was an inherent value in just doing the work as it was requested. But when we move into the millennium generation and Gen Z, the millennials and Gen Z are like, we want to participate and contribute and have our voice be heard. We kind of jumped over Gen X because it was a smaller cohort, and so nobody changed the rules for them. But these larger generations, so the pitfall that's established is the idea that you can just tell people what you need them to do and that that's going to work out. So that's an old school strategy, and it doesn't work. It doesn't particularly work well with our kids. It doesn't work well with our employees. The because I said so model, right? So we need to have more evolved skills in engaging people through their hearts, minds, and spirit to get us where we want to go. I tell people, we manage things, we have to lead people.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and I think a lot of times people move into like trying to manage, especially when we're stressed or when things are difficult. So building that skill set of invitation and inviting people to do what you need them to do is the biggest one. I think the other is a real focus on policies and procedures, and it can be a pitfall, especially nowadays when so many businesses are built on some cloud-based platform software, and those are changing all the time. If you're trying to write policies and procedures and keystrokes and steps, you could be editing that all the time. And so we have to be careful about what we document as necessary and what we allow people to bring their creativity to. I think that's another pitfall.
Yeah. It's a lot of pitfalls. And as far as like a client, when they're so used to having leadership, leading their team, and just continuing to move forward, but yet the mistakes keep happening, do you find it even more difficult for them to even feel comfortable with you actually helping them and them actually receiving the help?
I think, when people reach out to me to bring me into their team, they're often at a point where it's like I know that I'm stuck. I can't kind of find my way out. So they're happy to welcome me in. In terms of like the team being, a lot of times they might look at it like, oh, it's just the next new idea, right? Whatever she's
Right.
up to is the next new idea. That sarcasm or that resistance. I just like to address it up front, and we'll have a team conversation that says, up until now, this has been your experience. And I realize I can only have that conversation really once, right? This up until now, and now we're going to try something new. And so I find that people are open, especially if there's change fatigue in the team, or there's, people have sort of given up or, frustrated or whatever those pain points are. We can, just talk about, okay, let's get that all out on the table. And now let's look at what we want to do next. And so we're going to start a fresh chapter. And when we position it that way, I find that people get on board.
Mm, that's really nice because I know me, I will have a hard time at first. I will have a hard time, but it's like it's just so needed because especially small business owners, we will work ourselves so bad to a point it could affect our health, our sleeping, our mental health, our physical being, to a point we will just be all tired out. And that's like we need to learn how to not resist and actually receive when it comes to us receiving help to help our businesses elevate, because sometimes we have to realize that people are actually better and positioned better in these areas, and when you come in to actually help us execute and be able to thrive in our business. I thought it was amazing for you to help your client, of her spending $600,000+ on her company, and now she's able to travel and feel free. And that's the freedom that a lot of small business owners need to have. And but it takes individuals like you to actually for us to get through it. So I really appreciate you for even just sharing so much and helping other business owners to be able to execute and feel that freedom and feel that peace instead of just letting your business basically kill you daily.
Well, and thank you so much for that. I think one of the things that's true is that like general or operations management, it is a skill set. And one of the things like I've observed over the years is business owners are happy to hire a bookkeeper because they know they don't have that skill set, or happy to hire a marketing company because they understand they don't have that skill set. But when it comes to operations, they're like, I should be able to figure it out. Isn't that my job?
Yeah.
Isn't that my job as an owner is to figure out operations? And my answer is no. As an owner, your job is to be the visionary, the inspiration, the driving energy, the person, maybe the rainmaker, to be doing what you love to do that brought you into the industry that you're in. And operations is a skill set that's my skill set. And what I love to do is to build that skill set throughout the team to support the owner, right? So it doesn't have to be, I mean, what you've just described, families get exhausted because they're tired of being the sounding board, right? Our physical health, our personal relationships, all of those things get pushed away because of your dedication and love and passion for your business, which I is, have nothing but the greatest admiration for. But it should work the other way, right? Nobody went into business to be giving away their whole life to other people. You went into business for freedom and to be of service to the most people possible, I think. And so we got to flip the story, right? Flip the story
Yeah,
and support the owner.
we definitely do. And that's where you come in at.
Well, and,
You just
and
give like people like insight of it because sometimes people really don't take the time out to actually get to know exactly what you can do and how you can execute and how you could expand their business in so many different ways.
exactly. And I just had a thought, that a role of the general manager in a company quite often is to, lead the team, leverage the results of the investment you have in payroll or contracts or those things, but also to support the president or the owner, right? That is the right-hand person to support the owner in their achieving their dreams. And so with the virtual GM, that becomes the responsibility of the entire team. And and it makes people feel good, right? Because the other thing that owners bump up against is, well, if I'm not working side by side with people, are they going to think I'm an elitist, or I'm not, I think I'm better than them or something? It's kind of an odd psychology. What the reality is that people who are employed want their business owner to be happy and free and able to do things. There's no jealousy there. They're proud to be able to create that space. So, yeah, we want to give them the tools to be able to support us.
Yes. So what is one myth about management that you wish every entrepreneur will just let go of?
Well, I think I've said it before, the myth that you have to do it yourself or you have to figure it out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one. Cuz we just feel like I know one thing about small business owners, like say for instance I have a restaurant, right? And I'm the head chef of the restaurant. Everyone is used to me cooking at the restaurant. Everyone wants my taste, my flavor, everything that comes with it. However, I will hire someone and then they be like, I don't like those eggs. I know you didn't make those eggs. Can you make those eggs next time? So sometimes it can feel overwhelming because you have to continue to find people that have that taste and that flavor just like you so you can have rest from being a chef. And then on the other side, you have to be able to have your customers always feel satisfied and pleasant about them continuing to come to your restaurant as well. So a lot of times when you're battling that, and then you're battling the actual inside, the in work of the business, it's like, oh, I have to let this go. I have to do this. I have to figure this out.
Yeah, it's and like you said, if you bring in somebody else to do the cooking, then what's missing when they don't get it right? Because you can give them a recipe, but if they don't get it right, what's missing is probably the love, right? I mean, the love
Yes.
is what people feel through the food. So we do have to build that environment where everybody on the team is as in love with the final product and with the customer's experience as we are. And that's where, we circle back around to that cultural space. And it is possible. And actually, I think, my clients find that their customers are happy for them too, right? Their customers celebrate, oh, you get to have a vacation and the food is still so good. Yay, right? Then they're happy because yeah, they just want to have the result, but they want to support you too.
Yes, they do. So tell me in one sentence, what does a great leadership mean to you?
Hmm. In one sentence, great leadership to me is hmm, for me, it's about being clear with people and transparent with people so that they know what I'm up to and where we're going, and then inviting people to join me, recognizing if their answer is no, they're not a fit, and that's okay. And like building my team. I think leadership is about building the team and attracting the people who resonate with your message, and they can only do that when you're really clear with them about what your message is and who you are and where you're going. So creating the environment where people can know they're aligned with something that fits for them, and that, yeah.
Wow. So, what's your favorite productivity or leadership quote that keeps you going?
Oh, well, I love this one from the founder of Travelocity. He says, "Culture is a contact sport," and that we your culture in your company will happen either by accident or by intention. And I like it to be a contact sport. Let's stay in it, talk about it, and yeah, I love that.
Oh, yeah, I love that too. Wow. So, tell me, Eden, how can anyone get in contact with you and utilize your services?
My gift to everyone on the call today or on the listening to this podcast is a copy of my book, Activate Your Virtual GM, a step-by-step guide to get your business to run itself. And you can download that at freebusinessbook.com. It's important to note there's no S in there. It's freebusinessbook.com. And so that's the best way to like learn more about what I'm up to, and or yourvirtualgm.com, and reach out and connect with me. I love to meet new people, love to work with folks, and yeah, love to be helpful.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on my Life Her podcast show. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate the conversation.
Yes. So thank you everyone for tuning in to Life Her Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and also listen to Life Her Podcast on all major audio platforms. Thank you.